Daddy Inzauto, and I'm here to talk about Near and Far from Ryan Lockett and Red Raven Games. This is a follow-up, and a long overdue look here at GamerNode, but it's a follow-up to Above and Below, and this one also incorporates worker placement elements, but in addition to that, there's some area control and adventuring on a book full of maps, which really sets this one apart. Let's take a look at it. Okay, so here we have an in-progress game of Near and Far. Actually, it's sort of nearing its end, but I just wanted to show you a little bit of how the game plays. The game is made up of two major areas. One is the town board area, which is a sort of worker placement zone where you take your characters on each turn. You can place them on any of these buildings and take the corresponding action. You can do some trading over here at the town hall, getting rid of some artifacts so you don't have to be responsible to build them by the end of the game, and you can help go up or down on the fame track here. You can go to the saloon and hire new workers, and by workers I mean adventurers. You can go to the stable and get yourself a pack bird or a pack turtle. You can go to the general store and pick up some money or some new artifact cards, which will help you earn journey points at the end of the game by spending the required goods to build that thing. You can go to the farm and pick up some bread or food per skill icon that you have among all your workers. You can go to the Mystic's Hut where you can pick up a treasure which will help you on your journey, and you can hold it so long as you have a pack animal. And you can go to the mine and use your skill again, which is right here, you can just barely see it at the bottom of the screen there, to go digging in the mines and placing out your camp tokens. Now, camp tokens are important. I'm sort of jumping right in, but we'll hit these concepts as we go. So the game actually ends when one player has eliminated all the camp tokens from their board. You see here that this player would have 2 more to go in order to finish the game. As you uncover these icons, you'll earn those things that are printed on the board. And you can put these camp tokens out in a number of ways. One was the mine. Another one is by passing threats on the board here out on the map, which I haven't even introduced yet, and defeating these enemies by rolling dice and using your sword, your fighting skill. You can also place directly out on the map by landing your adventurer out in an area and then spending 3 of your hearts right here to place a camp token out. Hearts are an important part of the game because they are your energy for doing everything, really. When you move, if you pass over an area without stopping, you have to spend a heart. If you camp, you have to spend 3 hearts. If you run into some sort of an encounter, like one of these threats represented by these icons on the map, or some adventure, which is represented by a book, and there would be a book icon in that area, you'll have to roll a die, usually related to a skill, either the skill called skill or the skill called combat, and you'll roll a die, and you'll add up, say it was a skill check of skill 5. So I rolled a 3, and then I add up my skills, so I actually have 7 here, and then there's +1 down here, so I would have 8, so I would succeed. But if the skill check required a 9, then I would come back and use a heart just like that to achieve the number that was required by the skill check. So we began to talk about this map here, and the map is where you're going to be. You're preparing while you're in the town. You're getting yourself these pack animals, and you're getting some companions to go on the adventure with you, and you're gearing up with these treasures. But going out into the world here is the main area that you'll be putting your camp tokens out, which is obviously important. And depending on where you put them, you'll earn different things. There are coin icons, and if you camp there, you'll gain coins equal to the number of eyeball symbols that you have on any of your compatriots. Same thing goes for the gems. You'll gain gems in that way as well. Some of these areas have special icons, and these represent trade routes. If you can put your camp token on 2 of these lettuces, then you'll get 10 points. Here we have a split between red and blue, so they're going to split those points at the end. Here we have red achieving both of these pepper trade routes, so they're going to get 10 points at the end of the game. And then, of course, this being a Red Raven game and a sequel to Above and Below, we do have this Nifty quest book. And this is going to house all of the different quests that you'll run into when you land on any of the spaces that have these book icons and book tokens. Once one player has done that quest, that book token goes away and nobody can do that quest anymore. Because, unlike in Above and Below, these quests are actually numbered and tied to that space on the map. So you'll see Crimson Cave here is number 1, and number 1 says you find a door inside a shallow cave, because it's referring specifically to that spot. I think that's pretty cool. So I don't want to give away too much, but in each of these areas you'll have a couple of options. Here it says you can either try a skill 7 and attempt to shut the door and keep the Red King locked inside, or a skill 5 and guide the Red King to the surface. And at that point, you choose what you want to do. You roll your die just like we did before, and whatever your outcome is, you either succeed or fail. And it's very difficult to fail because, just like before, you can spend hearts to reach the number that's required. And you'll get a little bit more narrative as a result of what you've done, and you will get some sort of bonus, either some goods or going up or down on this reputation track. And because this game has numerous, we're going to make a mess here. Boom. It has numerous different maps. You can actually play a one-off game, or you can play an entire campaign by going from map to map to map, from map number 2 all the way till the end. And I think there are 11 of these, culminating with the last ruins here. And if you're doing a campaign, you will also run into certain quests that give you side quests. So you'll go through one of these little areas and it'll say, you get Q2, and you write that down on your little player tracker, which is another card that I don't have out at the moment. And in your next adventure, instead of reading the number on the board, you will go to the side quest and you'll continue on that path and you'll uncover the next bit of that story until it ends. And then there's a character mode as well, which is a little bit shorter than the campaign mode, where you choose one particular character, and every time you have a quest, you don't read from the number, but you read from their individual quest line. And you'll start off with their first bit of story, and at the end of that, it'll tell you where you're going to next based on what you've done. So that's really interesting. There's a lot of different ways to play the game, and one final way is to play without the quest book at all and just use a deck of cards that quickly gives you what you need to roll, what you get if you roll that. So it's very flexible for different play styles and different experiences that you're aiming to get. I mentioned a number of different ways to get points. You can get points on your board over here. You can get points for finishing out all of your tents. You get points for being on the reputation track. You get points for defeating these threats. You get points for building these various artifacts. You lose a point if you have an artifact card that you couldn't complete. You'll also gain points sometimes if you get one of these special cards, which usually come up as a result of a quest. They give you different benefits, maybe like skills or combat or different passive abilities, etc. Those are really cool. That really makes it a little bit variable because you get different things that you basically have no idea what's coming. And essentially, you just kind of play through the game, going from the town out onto the map, and when you run out of hearts on the map, you have to go back to the town, and then you can go out there again, and it's easier because these tents give you a sort of easier path to travel each time. And after doing that for a while, once someone puts out their last tent, you finish that round, you tally up all those points that are earned in all those different ways, and the winner is the one with the most points. Or you continue on through your campaign and you earn experience as you go and get little skills that help you on your next journey. And the winner of the game, the total game at the end of a campaign, is the one who has earned the most points over the entire campaign. So that's Near and Far from Ryan Lockett and Red Raven Games, and it's a very beautiful and interesting game, and it was one that I was really excited about coming in. I thought that it was definitely a departure from the gameplay style in Above and Below, and I was a little hesitant at first seeing the sort of spreading of area control and building those essentially safe routes to travel the maps. But then when I played it, I really enjoyed that. However, I do think that this one suffers a little bit from the feeling of just kind of treading water, just kind of doing things over and over in a sort of rote way as you play the game. The preparation phase is always relatively the same, gathering up supplies in town, and then going out onto the map board. I feel sometimes like the game lasts a little bit too long, which is interesting because the rulebook incorporates an extended game variant where you add more of those little tents onto your board so that you can play longer, whereas I felt like sometimes I wanted to cut the number of tents down so that play didn't feel too long and protracted and become too monotonous, because essentially you are gathering up your resources, going out onto the map, making a little progress, running out of hearts, coming back to town, maybe doing a couple things, going back onto the map, going a little bit further, landing in different spaces, making camps in different spaces, encountering those stories, and coming back. So I felt like there maybe was a little bit too much of that repetition, but on the other hand, I felt like I wanted to get all that story. I really liked the story elements because in this game, contrary to what happens in games like Above and Below or Tales of the Arabian Nights or any of those other sorts of storytelling games, this one has stories, little paragraphs that are tied directly to the spaces that you're landing on the map. So if you go somewhere on a map, you see an element in the artwork, the beautiful artwork by Ryan, and you get a story related to that, and you get a decision related to that. And then the fact that everything is a cohesive story from beginning to end, meaning you can get a side quest at one part of the game and then later on use that side quest at the end of a side quest. It gives you the following quest in that quest line to follow up on. That's great. The fact that you're going through there is actually some cohesion to what you're doing makes it a better storytelling game than something like Above and Below. But the unfortunate fact for me is that it's not as good of a mechanical game as Above and Below. I think this one kind of really lacks that solid core of interesting gameplay. It's interesting in its storytelling, it's interesting in its narrative, and that's really a fantastic part about the game. But it does lack that sort of underlying set of mechanisms that tie it all together in a way that makes it interesting to play, to manipulate from moment to moment. My favorite way to play, I mean, there's the campaign, which is fantastic, and it has you going from beginning to end, and you get to do all those side quests, but the character mode is amazing because, so I just talked about how I like how the stories are tied to the map. Now I'm going to contradict myself and say that I love the character mode because the stories are curated, they're set out one after the other, no matter where you're going on the map. that these things happen to these individual characters. But again, it's like those side quests where you finish out your first little story bit, and it tells you where to go to next, and it'll be your character's next story. And depending on what you've done in that previous little bit, you go either one way or the other, and you read either this next paragraph or this next paragraph the next time you hit one of those storybooks, and that's really cool. And of course, I really love getting those keywords. I don't know if I mentioned it on the tabletop, but when you go through a little story section, it might say, depending on what your consequence of your role and your outcome is, it'll say gain, a gem, a food, blah, 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 and keyword bunny rabbit. And you write that down. Later on, that can come back and you can get some sort of benefit or consequence later on when, you didn't expect it. And this reminds me of a really fantastic sort of storytelling emergent gameplay element in like Robinson Crusoe, where you play those cards. This is something that I've mentioned before, I think. You play out a card, you do a thing, then you shuffle the card back to a deck and it can come back. Anytime something you do earlier in the game has a consequence later in the game, and especially when you don't know it's coming or when it's coming, that's really fantastic. So I really like that about Near and Far. I think it's a great overall package. We got the beautiful art. I love the map book. I love the story book. I really like the world that Ryan's created. I like that there are a number of things to do. But the only thing that holds it back is that they're not really tied together in a mechanistically super satisfying way. So it gets dinged a little bit for that. I think Near and Far, I'm going to rate a 4 out of 5 on the GamerNode scale. It's a really good, commendable game, and I recommend you take a look at it. And that's it. That's the whole review for Near and Far from Red Raven Games and artist-designer Ryan Lockett. I'm Eddie Inzauto. Thanks for watching. If you like our stuff, hit that bell notification icon and get updates when we update. And check us out on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all at GamerNode or /GamerNode. And until next time, you have fun out there.